Elvis Presley walks out of a Memphis movie theater on a humid September evening in 1955, and he's a different person than when he walked in. 2 hours ago, he was just another young singer trying to make it. Now, after watching Rebel Without a Cause, he knows exactly who he needs to become. He sees James Dean up on that screen, angry and vulnerable and electric, and something clicks. That red jacket, that wounded defiance, that way of moving like you don't care what anyone thinks, but you're dying for someone to understand. Elvis doesn't just want to be like James Dean. He needs to be. What happens over the next 20 years isn't just imitation. It's transformation. And when Elvis finally stands alone at the site where Dean died, the promise he makes there will define the rest of his life. Memphis, Tennessee, September 1955. A Saturday night. The Malco Theater on Main Street is showing Rebel Without a Cause, and the place is packed. Teenagers mostly, some young adults. Everyone's heard about this new actor James Dean, who died in a car crash 3 weeks ago. The timing makes it eerie. Watching a movie about a doomed rebel played by an actor who just died living like a rebel. The theater is hot, no air conditioning, just fans that push warm air around. The seats are packed tight, people sitting shoulder to shoulder. The smell of popcorn and sweat and anticipation fills the space. When the lights go down, the crowd goes quiet, respectful, waiting to see what this dead actor can do. Elvis is sitting in the back row, 20 years old, already got his first hit with That's All Right, already been on Louisiana Hayride Radio, already got people talking about him. But he's not famous yet, not really. Still driving a truck between gigs, still living at home with his mama, still trying to figure out who Elvis Presley is supposed to be. He's wearing what he always wears. Simple clothes, work shirt, slacks, hair slicked back with Vaseline. He looks like every other working-class kid in Memphis. Nothing special, nothing distinctive, just another face in the crowd. That's about to change. The movie starts. James Dean appears on screen as Jim Stark, drunk, vulnerable, talking to a toy monkey. There's something broken about him, something desperate. Elvis leans forward in his seat. He's never seen acting like this, never seen someone be this real on screen. Most actors perform, they project, they announce their emotions. Dean just exists, just lives it. When Dean screams at his parents, Elvis feels it in his chest. When Dean looks at Natalie Wood with that mix of need and fear, Elvis understands. This isn't acting, this is truth. The red windbreaker Dean wears becomes iconic in real time. The way he hunches his shoulders, the way he moves with this coiled energy like he might explode any second, the way he makes vulnerability look like strength. Elvis watches every second like he's studying scripture. The planetarium scene hits Elvis particularly hard. Dean lying under the projected stars talking about the end of the world. That existential loneliness, that sense of not fitting anywhere. Elvis knows that feeling, knows what it's like to be different in a world that wants you to be the same. When the movie ends with Dean cradling Sal Mineo's body, crying, Elvis has tears running down his face. He's not embarrassed. Doesn't wipe them away. Just sits there as the credits roll and the lights come up, feeling like something fundamental just shifted inside him. People are filing out, talking about the movie, about how sad it is that Dean died so young. Elvis doesn't move, just sits there processing. Finally, his girlfriend Dixie touches his arm. "Elvis, you okay?" He turns to her. His face is different. She can't explain how, but something in his expression has changed. "I know what I need to do now," he says. The next day, Elvis goes shopping, finds a red windbreaker, not the exact one from the movie, but close enough. Buys it without thinking about the price. Buys jeans, dark denim, not dress slacks, working jeans, casual, rebellious. Finds a white t-shirt, simple, like Dean wore. Goes home and tries it all on. stands in front of the mirror in his bedroom. The transformation is immediate. He doesn't look like Elvis the country singer anymore. He looks like Elvis the rebel. He practices Dean's slouch, that way of standing with the shoulders hunched and the head slightly down, like you're protecting yourself from the world. Practices that look, the one where you're vulnerable but defiant, hurt but dangerous. His mama Gladys comes in, sees him standing there in his new clothes, posing. What are you doing, baby? Becoming who I need to be. Elvis starts watching Rebel Without a Cause obsessively, sees it 12 times in the first month, sits in different theaters around Memphis, studies every scene, every gesture, every facial expression. He's not just watching a movie, he's attending a master class, learning a new language, the language of cool. The language of rebellion that feels real instead of performed. He copies everything, the way Dean walks, that loose-limbed stride with the slight swagger, the way Dean stands, weight on one leg, the other leg bent, casual but ready, the way Dean talks, those pauses, that slight mumble, like you're thinking faster than you can speak, the way Dean looks at people, direct, intense, like you're the only person in the world. Elvis practices all of it, alone in his room, in front of mirrors, walking down the street, refining it, making it his own, but starting with Dean. Colonel Tom Parker notices the change immediately. Parker is managing Elvis now, grooming him for bigger things, and he doesn't like what he's seeing. It's November 1955. They're at a meeting in Parker's office in Memphis. Parker sits behind his desk. Big man, imposing. Controls everything. Elvis sits across from him, wearing the red jacket, the jeans, the white t-shirt, Dean's uniform. Parker stares at him. What the hell are you wearing? My clothes. Those aren't your clothes. Those are James Dean's clothes. Elvis doesn't deny it. I liked his style. His style got him killed in a car crash at 24 years old. That what you want? I want to connect with people the way he did. Parker leans forward. Elvis, you need to understand something. James Dean was an actor. You're a singer. Different business, different audience, different rules. Dean broke the rules, Elvis says. That's what made him matter. Dean broke the rules and died. You want to live? You want to be successful? You follow my rules. But Elvis is stubborn. Got that from his mama. When he believes something, he holds on. Dean showed me something, showed me you can be vulnerable and strong at the same time, can be different and authentic. That's what people want. They want real. Parker sighs. You want to know what people want? They want entertainment. They want you to sing good and look good and not cause trouble. They don't want you pretending to be a dead actor. Elvis meets his eyes. I'm not pretending to be anyone. I'm learning from him. There's a difference. Parker doesn't push it further. Not yet, but the tension is there. Parker wants Elvis to be controllable, marketable, safe. Dean was none of those things, and Elvis is choosing Dean. December 1955, Elvis is performing at a small venue in Mississippi. High school gymnasium, maybe 200 people. Local show, nothing major. But he walks out on stage and the effect is immediate. He's wearing the red jacket, the jeans, the white t-shirt underneath. His hair is different too. Still slicked back, but looser. More natural. More Dean. When he starts singing, he moves differently. Not the standard country singer stance, not the typical crooner style. He moves with that Dean energy, that coiled tension, hips moving in ways that make the girls in the audience gasp. One arm extended, one leg shaking. Face vulnerable and intense at the same time. It's dangerous. It's sexual. It's exactly what Dean brought to the screen, translated into music. The audience reaction is immediate and intense. Girls screaming, literally screaming, some crying, some trying to rush the stage. This has never happened before. Not like this. Elvis finishes the set and walks off stage knowing something has changed. He found it. The formula. Dean's emotional authenticity plus his own musical talent equals something explosive. But the copying goes deeper than clothes and mannerisms. Elvis starts adopting Dean's philosophy, that rebel stance, that questioning of authority, that sense of not fitting into the boxes society creates. Elvis grew up poor, grew up feeling like an outsider. Dean's films gave him permission to express that, to make it part of his identity instead of something to hide. In interviews, Elvis starts sounding like Dean, talking about feeling misunderstood, about not connecting with his parents' generation, about living fast because you don't know how long you have. The James Dean Playbook. Word for word. Critics notice. Start writing about it. Elvis Presley, the new James Dean of rock and roll. Elvis reads those articles with pride. That's exactly what he wants to be. The music version of Dean, the living embodiment of that rebellious spirit. January 1956. Elvis records Heartbreak Hotel. The song is dark, lonely, existential. Very different from his earlier rockabilly stuff. This is Dean's influence, that melancholy, that sense of isolation. When Elvis performs it on television, he channels pure Dean, the wounded vulnerability, the barely contained energy, the danger lurking under the surface. Ed Sullivan's people see it and initially refuse to book him. Too dangerous? Too sexual? Too much like James Dean, who represented everything traditional America feared about its youth. But the ratings speak louder than fear. Elvis gets booked, appears on Ed Sullivan in September 1956, and he brings James Dean with him. The red jacket makes an appearance, not the exact one. Can't wear jeans on Ed Sullivan, has to wear slacks, has to compromise. But the energy is there, the Dean energy. The performance becomes legendary. Sullivan famously says Elvis can only be shot from the waist up, too dangerous to show the hips moving. But even with that restriction, the Dean influence is obvious. The face, the vulnerability, the intensity. Through all of this, Elvis has never forgotten that James Dean is dead. The idol he's modeling himself after died 3 weeks before Elvis saw Rebel Without a Cause. That haunts him, makes the influence feel sacred, like he's carrying forward something that was cut short, preserving a legacy that deserves to continue. In March 1956, Elvis is in California for some studio recordings. He has 3 days off, no schedule, no obligations. He rents a car, doesn't tell Parker, doesn't tell his entourage, just gets in the car alone and drives. North through California, through the Central Valley, past Bakersfield, through farm country, 5 hours of driving, until he reaches a specific spot. Highway 466, near Cholame, the intersection where James Dean died. It's late afternoon when Elvis arrives. The sun is starting to set, golden light across the flat landscape. There's nothing here, just open road, fields, a few scattered trees, no memorial, no marker, nothing to indicate that one of the most iconic actors in American history died right here 6 months ago. Elvis parks on the shoulder, gets out. The wind is blowing, warm, carrying the smell of dry grass and earth. He walks to the intersection, stands there, tries to imagine it. Dean driving his Porsche. Too fast. Always too fast. Living like there is no tomorrow. The collision, the impact, the sudden end to everything. Elvis stands there for a long time. Silent, just feeling the place, feeling the absence of someone he never met, but who changed his life completely. Then he kneels down, right there on the highway shoulder. Doesn't care if anyone sees, doesn't care how it looks. He's wearing the red jacket, Dean's jacket, and he's crying. Tears running down his face for someone he never knew, for a future that got cut short, for the connection he feels to this dead actor who showed him how to be himself. Elvis talks to the empty road, to Dean's ghost, to whatever remains in this place. I'm carrying it forward, he says out loud, voice shaking. What you started, that rebellion, that authenticity, that permission to be different, I'm carrying it forward. I promise. He stays there for almost an hour, kneeling, crying, promising, making a vow to a dead man that he will keep Dean's spirit alive, that he won't let the establishment tame him completely, that he'll stay dangerous, stay real, stay true to what Dean represented. When Elvis finally gets back in the car and drives away, he's different. The visit made it sacred, made the influence feel like a responsibility, not just copying, honoring. Throughout 1956 and 1957, as Elvis explodes into superstardom, the Dean influence remains obvious. The movies Elvis makes, Love Me Tender, Loving You, Jailhouse Rock. They're not trying to be James Dean movies. Elvis isn't an actor like Dean was, but the energy is there, that rebellious spirit, that working-class authenticity, that vulnerability hiding under the tough exterior. Critics continue making the comparison, some positive, some negative, some saying Elvis is just riding Dean's coattails. Elvis doesn't care. He knows what he's doing. He's not copying. He's translating, taking what Dean did, enacting and applying it to music and performance, creating something new while honoring something sacred. But the promise Elvis made at the crash site starts to haunt him, because Colonel Parker is pushing him in different directions, safer directions, more commercial directions. Parker wants Elvis in family-friendly movies, wants him to stop moving so dangerously on stage, wants him to be marketable to mainstream America, wants him to be safe. Everything James Dean wasn't. The tension builds through 1957, Elvis fighting to stay dangerous, Parker fighting to make him commercial. Elvis wearing the red jacket to meetings, Parker telling him to take it off. "You're not James Dean," Parker keeps saying. "Stop trying to be." "I'm not trying to be him," Elvis responds. "I'm trying to honor what he showed us." "He's dead," Parker says bluntly. "You want to live? You want to be rich? You want to be successful? You let me guide you, and that means letting go of the dead actor." The breaking point comes in December 1957. Elvis is being drafted into the Army. 2 years of service. Parker sees it as an opportunity, a chance to reshape Elvis, make him more acceptable to mainstream America. Military service, patriotic duty, the perfect image, rehabilitation. Elvis knows what's happening, knows Parker wants to use the Army to kill the Dean influence, make him safe, controllable. Before he goes in, Elvis makes one final pilgrimage, back to Highway 466, back to the crash site. It's been almost 2 years since his first visit. The place hasn't changed, still nothing to mark what happened here, still just empty road and fields. Elvis kneels again, same spot, wearing the red jacket. "I tried," he says to the empty air, to Dean's ghost. "I tried to keep it alive, the rebellion, the authenticity, but they're taking it from me. The Army, Parker, the system, they're going to smooth out all the rough edges, make me safe." He's crying again, angry tears this time. "I'm sorry I couldn't keep the promise." But something happens in that moment. Elvis realizes Dean never made it safe, never compromised, never let the system tame him. Dean died at 24, but he died being exactly who he was. Elvis is about to turn 23, about to go into the Army, about to be reformed and repackaged, but he doesn't have to accept it completely. Can't be as wild as before, can't be as dangerous, but he can hold on to something, the core of it, that vulnerability, that emotional authenticity, that connection to something real. Elvis stands up, wipes his eyes. "I'll do what I have to do," he says to the empty road. "But I won't forget what you showed me, what you gave me permission to be." He gets back in the car, drives away, knowing he's about to change, knowing he can't stop it. but holding on to something essential, something Dean. The Army years are exactly what Parker hoped for. Elvis gets his hair cut, wears a uniform, follows orders, becomes America's favorite soldier. The rebel gets tamed. When he comes out in 1960, he's different, cleaner, safer, more marketable. The red jacket is gone, put away somewhere. The movies get worse. Beach party films, formulaic musicals, nothing like the dangerous energy of those early years. Nothing like James Dean. Critics say Elvis sold out, say he let the system win, say James Dean would never have compromised like this. Elvis hears all of it, agrees with most of it. But he made a choice, to live, to be successful, to give his mama a good life, to be rich and famous and safe. Dean made a different choice, to stay dangerous and die young. Elvis respects that choice, but chose differently. But the influence never completely dies. In quiet moments, Elvis still watches Rebel Without a Cause, still studies Dean's performance, still remembers who he was trying to be at 20 years old. In 1968, Elvis makes his comeback special, the '68 Comeback Special. And something of the old Elvis returns, the dangerous Elvis, the authentic Elvis, the Elvis that learned from James Dean. He's wearing black leather, not a red jacket, but the spirit is similar. He's moving with that old energy, that coiled tension. He's singing with real emotion, real vulnerability. For one night, he's channeling Dean again, being the artist he promised to be. The audience responds. The ratings are massive. People remember why they loved Elvis in the first place, because he was dangerous, because he was real, because he brought something of James Dean's spirit into music. The 1970s are harder. Elvis is struggling. Drug addiction, weight gain, bad movies, worse performances. The distance from James Dean gets wider. Elvis knows it, hates it, can't seem to stop it. In 1975, 20 years after first seeing Rebel Without a Cause, Elvis watches the movie again. Alone in Graceland, late at night, can't sleep, can't stop thinking about how far he's fallen from what he wanted to be. Dean on the screen looks impossibly young, impossibly pure, impossibly authentic. Everything Elvis isn't anymore. He cries watching it, cries for who he used to be, for the promise he made and couldn't keep, for the rebellion that got commercialized and packaged and sold until nothing real remained. After the movie ends, Elvis sits in the dark. The red jacket is upstairs somewhere, packed away. Probably doesn't fit anymore. Too much weight, too much time, too much compromise. But the memory of who he was trying to be at 20 years old remains. That kid who saw James Dean on screen and thought, that's who I need to become. That kid who promised at a crash site to carry forward a spirit of rebellion and authenticity. That kid is still in there somewhere, buried under years of bad decisions and commercial compromise. But still there. August 1977. Elvis is dying. His body is failing. Too many drugs, too much food, too much pressure, too much everything. In his final weeks, he talks to people about James Dean, about how Dean's choice to live fast and die young maybe wasn't wrong, about how dying at 24 with your integrity intact might be better than living to 42 as a shadow of what you were. People around him don't understand, think he's just depressed, just rambling. But Elvis knows what he's saying. He's facing the final accounting, measuring his life against the promise he made. Did he carry forward James Dean's spirit? Did he honor that rebellion? Did he stay authentic? The answer is complicated. He tried. For a while, he really tried. Brought that energy to music, changed rock and roll, changed American culture, made rebellion mainstream. But then he compromised. Let Parker tame him. Let the system win. Became safe, became commercial, became everything Dean never would have been. August 16th, 1977. Elvis dies. 42 years old, found on his bathroom floor at Graceland. The official cause is heart failure. But really, he died from decades of trying to be two different people. The rebel who wanted to be James Dean, and the commercial success that Parker and the system demanded. That contradiction killed him, pulled him apart from the inside. At his funeral, someone places a small item in the casket, a photograph. Elvis, at 20 years old, wearing the red jacket, looking like James Dean. That's how he wanted to be remembered. Not the bloated Vegas Elvis, not the movie star in bad beach films, but the young rebel who saw something pure in James Dean and tried to carry it forward, who stood at a crash site and made a promise, who, for a few brief years, actually kept it. The influence chain doesn't end with Elvis. Dean influenced Elvis. Elvis influenced everyone who came after, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones. Every rock star who ever stood on stage and channeled vulnerability and danger at the same time. Every artist who ever chose authenticity over safety. That's Dean's legacy, carried forward by Elvis and then spread across the world. But it cost Elvis everything because he tried to be two things at once, tried to honor Dean while also achieving mainstream success. Tried to stay dangerous while also becoming rich. Tried to keep the promise while also keeping Colonel Parker happy. That's the tragedy, not that Elvis died at 42, but that he spent 22 years slowly dying from the compromise. James Dean never compromised, died at 24 with his integrity intact. Elvis compromised, lived to 42 but lost something essential along the way. The question isn't which choice was better. The question is whether there could have been a middle path, whether Elvis could have honored Dean without destroying himself, whether you can carry forward a rebel's legacy while also surviving in a system designed to tame rebels. When people visit Graceland now, they see the jumpsuits, the gold records, the cars, the mansion, all the trappings of Elvis's success. But upstairs in a storage room, there's a red jacket, faded now. Worn, small, because Elvis was thin when he bought it at 20 years old. That jacket tells a different story. The story of a young man who saw something pure on a movie screen and tried to become it, who stood at a crash site and made a promise to a dead man he'd never met, who, for a brief moment in 1955 and 1956, actually succeeded, who brought James Dean's spirit into music and changed everything, who then spent the rest of his life trying to recapture that moment and failing. The jacket is evidence, proof that it happened, proof that Elvis Presley tried to be what James Dean showed him was possible, authentic, dangerous, real. He didn't fully succeed. The system was too strong. Colonel Parker was too powerful. The compromise was too seductive. But he tried. And in trying, he changed the world. Who are you trying to become? What dead idol are you modeling yourself after? What promise have you made to someone you never met? And more importantly, what happens when keeping that promise conflicts with surviving in the real world? Because that's the real story here. Not that Elvis copied James Dean, but that Elvis tried to honor something pure and found out that purity doesn't survive in a commercial system. That rebellion gets packaged and sold. That authenticity becomes a product. That the very thing you're trying to preserve gets destroyed by your attempt to share it with the world. Elvis Presley walked out of a Memphis movie theater in 1955 as one person and emerged as another. James Dean did that to him, changed him completely, set him on a path that led to superstardom and early death, to cultural revolution and personal compromise, to keeping a promise and breaking it at the same time. That's the power of influence. That's the danger of idol worship. That's what happens when you try to become someone else instead of discovering who you already are. The red jacket still exists, faded, forgotten, stored away, but still there. Proof that it happened, that a 20-year-old truck driver saw a dead actor on screen and decided to carry forward his spirit, that for a brief moment that truck driver succeeded, that he brought something dangerous and authentic into the world, that he changed everything, that he tried, even though trying destroyed him, even though the promise couldn't be kept. even though James Dean stayed forever 24 and pure, while Elvis lived to 42 and compromised. The jacket remains, evidence of the attempt, monument to the failure. Proof that some promises are impossible to keep, but worth making anyway.